So let's bring. I see Giselle still in the dressing room there. So let's bring Giselle out. Have you two met before?
No. Hi, Giselle.
Hi, Hal. It's great to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. And I loved watching you and your husband both on the news talking about this ridiculousness, the current unpleasantness we're all going through. And I have to say, you both handled it with a plum and class and humor. It's great to watch.
He's so sad he's missing. He had to take a call, so he's like, "Tell him I love him."
Oh, that's great. Well, I adore both of you. It's great.
I have an important question for you. How does it feel to be the creator of this? I mean, like Pittsburgh. This is where I am. This is huge here. Like,
I know.
Say, my God, I did this.
It was the weirdest thing. I have the Zoltan Bucks jersey that I have. I've got a Pirates jersey with Zoltan on the back of it. I threw out the first pitch at one of the games. Did that. The whole stadium did the Zoltan. The fact that became a thing. So, this kind of ties together because Queer as Folk and Dude, Where's My Car debuted the same weekend. Same weekend, both of these projects came out at the same time. So you could not be more ridiculous career-wise as far as a divergence in what's showing up. And this thing, so they had a thing in the call sheet. They needed a symbol. They wanted all the Zoltan cult to do something kind of like Star Trek. They wanted to do like a Vulcan salute kind of thing. But they couldn't figure out what it was. They didn't know what the thing was. They didn't want it to look like a gang symbol. But they were like, we can't figure out what we want them to do something, but what is it? And they put a thing in the call sheet that said, whoever comes up with it gets $29.37, I think is how much it was. We're going to give you $29.37. Whoever comes up with the Zoltan hand thing. And so I went, well, it's my cult. Clearly, I should be responsible for coming up with the thing. So I went home that night and I literally sat down and got a notepad and I was like, all right, what can we do? And I originally had this two Vulcan versions of things where you got it. That was too complicated. A lot of people couldn't do that. And so I was back and forth. And eventually I was just like, a giant Z will get the point across as fast as anything. Pow. And so I came in the next day and I was like, boink, this is what we do. Everybody goes Zoltan. They go, Zoltan. And they were like, that's amazing. We're doing it. And years later, out of the blue, somebody messages me and goes, the Pirates are now using your Zoltan hand symbol anytime they hit a base hit or a home run. And there's hundreds of pictures of people, slide.
I have a t-shirt. And I was like, should I wear it today or it's going to be kind of creepy?
It's not creepy at all. It's fantastic. I can't tell you. And of all the things that I do, and I'm very glad that I think Jim Carrey put it best when they go, how does it feel when people run up to you on the street? And he goes, people always show me their best selves. It's a beautiful thing. They try to imitate him. They're trying to be funny, but they always really try to show up and go, hey, you made me laugh. And with Michael and Queer as Folk, everybody's so gracious and lovely about him. And with Zoltan, I used to be sitting at a restaurant and then 10 teenagers would walk by and then they would run back and go, Zoltan, and then run away. And then this added another level to it where people were buying T-shirts with it on towels. And I have to say, it blew my mind. Now, this is the interesting part. So my girlfriend, her family is from Pittsburgh. And there's a Soltis Lane that her dad built all the houses on there by hand with his relatives. That's how long they've been there, just outside. And they're Pirates fans and all this kind of stuff. And this thing came up and they taking her grandmother, who's since passed, to games. And I said, well, let me reach out to them and see if I can just go and take everybody because of the Zoltan thing, just to take her to a game. And we have all these wonderful pictures. And like I said, she passed away last year. And we have all these wonderful pictures of my girlfriend and her mom, her grandmother, doing this in the dugout of the Pirates game that they got to go to. And so there's just the way it all tied together just makes me believe that there are gears in the universe that work in spite of all things. You know what I mean? That just some stuff just clicks together. So odd. Queer as Folk took place in Pittsburgh, theoretically. We shot it in Toronto. I mean, these both came out on the same day. The Zoltan thing becomes part of the Pittsburgh Pirates. If we just shot Queer as Folk later, people would have been doing the symbol from my movie thing. And I mean, it's so weird. It's just so weird, but beautiful. So,
all right.
Yeah.
So I'm a Pirates fan as well. I've got stories about that. Anyway, so I was going to ask if you'd ever been to Pittsburgh, and obviously now you have.
I had never been before I shot Queer as Folk, or even during, because for whatever reason, it just didn't work out that way. And I insisted that I was going to make it to Pittsburgh before the show ended. That was my goal. I was like, I'm going to get down there and do something, either it's stand up or something. And we were always shooting or always doing something else. And then my band played the finale of Queer as Folk in one of the bars downtown. My band opened, and then we played the final episode of Queer as Folk for everybody in Pittsburgh. That was my first time in Pittsburgh, was my band playing there. That was, yeah.
So, all right, I'd like to ask a political question of you two.
Sure.
What is your sincerest hope January 20th? What happens on January 20th?
Oh, well, I mean, Biden's going to get sworn in, and he's going to undo a bunch of, he's got a lot of paperwork to do that day. He's going to be undoing a lot of executive orders and reestablishing some normalcy. That's really what his day is going to be like. It's literally just going to be like, okay, fuck that. Like, that's what it is. Like, no more kids in cages. So there you go. Paris Climate Accord. Here we go. We'll go back into that. That's really it. On a personal level, it's hard to say. Gisele?
I'm looking forward to normalizing like decent people again, right? Like I caught Biden on TV, and I was like, oh my God, he sounds so nice and normal. Like what? Like I got used to this nonsense for the last 4 years, and that's become normal, and I hate that.
Yeah.
I want that to go away. I look forward to hearing someone sound presidential and kind and compassionate and not having to like check Twitter every day to see if we're in World War IV. This idea that we have to worry about our president's behavior every single day is absurd. And I have a lot of respect for civil servants and elected officials. I really do. At their base, like just choosing to do that. I don't have a chip on my shoulder about quote unquote politicians. I think that's childish. I think long-term public service is a great career choice for people, and it's a skill people develop over time. There's a reason why you elevate up, mayor to congressperson to senator and on up, because you learn the skills necessary to manage the kind of things that are there. But the fact that we've become anti-civil servant is a little weird to me. But in the process, I agree. I think it would be lovely if we go back to semi-boring in our world. We check in on the president about every 10 days, not every 6 minutes is the goal. So, yeah, I think for me it was so sad. So I'm an immigrant from Brazil, and my whole time living in this country, my family all have dreamt of coming to America, right? Like it's a regular conversation every time I spoke to them. And one day they were just like, we're good. And I was like, you know what I mean? They were just like, we don't want to move there anymore.
All right. Dark Sage 9117 has asked that, he says that they say, I voted for President Trump twice for economic reasons only. I also was a very outspoken critic of his many times. I called him out on many vile things he said. I do not condone racism at all. I also do not back the wall he wanted and many other political positions he has. However, I am very disturbed by how the media treated me for 4 years, labeling me a Nazi, a racist, bigot, among other things. I respect Biden voters and Trump voters regardless of how they are and their beliefs. My question is, someone who has unfairly labeled a racist who was attacked when I was a very outspoken critic of President Trump, how should Democrats and Joe Biden reach out to me?
Well, I would say primarily, if that is indeed your belief system and you are just an economic voter, that it is not incumbent on Biden or any of his voters to reach out to you at all. You as an adult who clearly care about economic issues should be able to just interact with other people and not be coaxed into normalcy. Again, if indeed the things that you're talking about are things you don't like about him, then those are not traits you will exhibit in your normal life. And that I can't see why they would ever come up. You are responsible for how people react to you, and people, and if your language is so far off from, the majority in this particular instance of 80 million people who voted the other way, then it's on you to shift that way. In the same way that I shifted my language so as to not speak ill of every Republican voter every time I spoke, which if you watch any of my streams, I'm the one, I make a very clear distinction between what I would call the maggots and Trumpsters, who are, in that what Hillary Clinton was trying to make her case with the basket of deplorables thing. She made that case. She was literally making the case that this person is making, which is the vast majority of the people are just Republican voters who have beliefs about the system and they just don't agree with us. There's a group of these people over here who are like the basket of deplorables. It was the Trump campaign and et al. That spread the basket of deplorables thing over the entire swath of Republicans to gain the strength of the volume of those human beings instead of allowing themselves to be bifurcated from the mass. And I would argue that if you're not those things, it's not going to come up. Nobody's going to accuse you of being a racist or a sexist or a bigot unless you behave in racist, sexist, or bigoted ways. If you voted for Trump simply for economic reasons, your problem isn't that you're a racist, a sexist, or a bigot, is that you're comfortable with racism, sexism, and bigotry in a way that other people aren't. And they're going to have some questions for you. Right. They're going to go, why is that okay? And what's the big economic huge difference that Trump is somehow giving us as a gift? Literally more people on food stamps right now than any time in our history. So,
Gisele, how would you reach out to that person?
I would say, I'm sorry if you have felt that way, but I would challenge you to also think about other people when you vote. Mm-hmm. I think that's really important. When I vote, I think about who is the most vulnerable that my vote will impact. And I think it's really important to care about other people. So I would challenge you to maybe go out of your comfort and go outside, just your home and think about your neighbors as well. And I think a lot of that was created by our president. There was a point where you could vote differently and you can believe in different things, but you could still be kind and civil to each other.
Right.
This has come directly from the president that you voted for. So, thank you for saying that you've pushed back against a lot of the things you saw, but hopefully this is where the healing begins. And we get back to that place where we can disagree and still be kind and respectful to each other.
Amen, Gisele. Amen. So thank you both so much for being on the show tonight.
Of course.
Hal, I do have a proposition for you.
Well, that always happens.
If you would ever want to get the cast of Queer as Folk together for a reunion, I'm here every Sunday night, so would love to be a part of it.
I would crowbar as many of them in here as we possibly could. I have no problem with that whatsoever.
Okay.
And by the way, Gisele, tell John I'm a big fan and give him a hug for me. And I know this, in all seriousness, sometimes when you handle stuff well, people don't realize the pressure and difficulty that actually exists. And I think that's what I'm impressed with both of you, is that I know there's genuine stress and in some cases genuine danger in dealing with some of these things sometimes. And I just, to be able to be as sort of open-hearted as you are and as as sensible as the two of you are together and still maintain your wit and charm about you is a skill in and of itself. And I appreciate that every time I see either or both of you on my television set. I'm just saying. Genuinely.
And Gisele, I have a question for you.
Is it a proposition too?
Sure, John's gone.
Right.
So, no.
Look out.
In 2 years, John's term as lieutenant governor will be up, and there will be an open governor's office and an open Senate seat in Pennsylvania. What are you thinking about?
I think we're exploring both things, but see, currently I am Slop, which is the second lady of Pennsylvania, right? Mm-hmm. And I need the name that's going to sound best for me. So that's how I'm going to make this decision. So how can I improve Slop?
Right. Well, Flop is pretty good. Flop.
From slop to flop.
Yeah, that honest to God, Gisele, that is your autobiography title. From Slop to Flop, how you can live your dreams in the wonderful Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. I'm just saying, I'm a marketing genius. All right.
Thank you so much. Give John my love and appreciation. Thank you so much. What a great show. I hope you'll both come back sometime.
I insist.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Cheers. Thanks, Gisele.
Oh, wow. I could talk or let them talk for another hour, but I know you've got things to do.